Hi, back by unpopular demand is me. You guys have been like fiending for another video on some of like the smaller differences between what is now Dusklight and Courage Reborn. I'll get into the name change here in a little bit, just so you guys stay informed. But I have a few of those differences that you guys have been looking for. Obviously, this video isn't gonna be like all inclusive and not gonna show every single little nook and cranny, but that's different between the two games. But it's gonna go over some of the more surface level differences. And a couple of technical differences just to kind of give you guys an idea as to, things that are happening in the background, like it extracting files and reading things and rendering things like that. So I've got like a loosely sorted list of things here to go over. I still have the absolute pleasure of a time working with Encounter, and this time I actually worked with Pukas a lot on this video from the CR team. You'll know more about him very soon. He's got like a cult following in the CR Discord for a very good reason, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyways, in the interim, just bear with me while I kind of go down things and work my way through this list. I've also got some comments from the last video that I want to kind of reply to in a more formal sense. Just things that I didn't actually get to replying on the video itself. So it might have already been noticed, but Dusklight will definitely run at a lower frame rate on some older hardware. CR is building with that sort of in mind, and I'll get into that here in a little bit with like graphics backends and things like that. While it's still too early to tell, it does seem like CR does have better performance in some areas, especially on older hardware, on top of it just being more compatible with older hardware. Now, it is actually harder to accommodate older hardware unless you specifically target a bunch of different configs and backends, because targeting only like one graphics backend does kind of hurt what you're able to support backend wise. For reference, the rendering backend for Dusklight is D3D12 with Vulkan as an option, whereas on CR, Vulkan is the default, and it also supports OpenGL for older hardware. So getting into it and like the why of all of this is basically DirectX 12 or D3D12, it can run on older hardware. Depends entirely on whether your GPU supports the necessary feature levels. Generally, you're going to require something DX11 capable from around 2012, 2013, or newer, preferably newer. While Windows 10 or 11 includes DX12 by default, the hardware itself has to support WDDM 2.0 or higher. So both ports are going to support Vulkan as well, with it being the default on Courage Reborn. It's a good general use rendering backend for most applications. It's really good with like low overhead, really good performance on lower end CPUs, and it's just better than using something like DirectX for most platforms. OpenGL is a bit of a unique case here. It really supports older hardware very well through its flexible specification-driven design, where drivers, not the actual API itself, will handle translation for older GPUs. Because it's a specification, not software, graphics card manufacturers like NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel can provide drivers that map OpenGL commands to their hardware-specific architecture. So even if a GPU is old, a properly written driver can interpret modern OpenGL commands. It's effectively just a really nerdy way of saying that OpenGL both can and will run fairly decently on older hardware. I mean, there's some points where it won't use the GPU for stuff, it'll instead call the CPU for stuff. So it might run a little bit slower, but it'll certainly run a lot faster than something like DX12. So the two of them also use different compatibility layers, which is just basically a thing that will take GameCube information, translate it to whatever system you're on, and vice versa. So it's like graphics and inputs and things like that. In this case, Dusklight uses Aurora, something that they made in-house, and Courage Reborn uses Rainfall, something else that they also made in-house. For its graphics backend, Aurora uses Dawn, which is a web GPU thing specifically through Chromium, whereas Rainfall uses SDL3 GPU, which is a thinner, newer backend, which lets programmers write code once without managing platform-specific API bullshit. Continuing with some more like technical differences, Dusklight will read assets directly from the disk via node, whereas Courage Reborn extracts the files from your disk using a system called Siphon. Which is actually already open source, and you guys can go see it. Garrett programmed it. Garrett's awesome. He's one of my favorite people in the CR team. But Nod is completely built in Rust, Siphon, C++. Two ways of doing the same thing. Again, that's the theme here. So one of the cooler things built into Courage Reborn that won't be in Dusk is a system called Reservoir, which is a BLO editor, so it allows you to, on launch, edit some of the in-game menus. And that and Siphon both use a library called Confluence. It's a utilities library also built by the Linux Fedora team, and a lot of their stuff relies on it. All of the stuff that I've mentioned, Siphon, Confluence, and Reservoir, those are all already open source. The link to them will be in the description. Go check them out. It's some really cool stuff. So moving away from some of the technical stuff and onto like, game feel and UI and stuff like that, obviously the two menus for them are going to look very different. I'm going to throw up a couple of images of how they look. The one, in Dusklight is over here, and then here's the one for Courage Reborn. They're both very different, both very cool. They'll both have Discord rich presence. I know the only difference there is that in Courage Reborn, it'll show when you're fishing, what you last caught, the size of it, that kind of stuff. That's pretty neat. Actual in-game menus are also going to look a little bit different. I know Dusklight lets them, stretch to fill your screen. Me as an ultra-wide player, it looks really funky. I'm not a fan of it. Whereas in Courage Reborn, they will kind of force 4x3 right now. I think that they're also going to do 21x9 and 16x9 menus, but just prevent certain elements from stretching to kind of preserve that 4x3 look while rendering that massive menu. So Dusklight has their own achievements. Initially, the plan with Courage Reborn was to go through retro achievements. I know that they can be a little bit funky with decomp stuff. That's what I've heard. So they might not do that. They might implement their own, and I'll kind of keep you guys posted on that if they do. So Dusklight, before launch, it has its own title screen, whereas before launch in Courage Reborn, it'll actually just have a launcher. That launcher is probably going to be used for future projects from Linux. I know that they also said that they wanted to do a Wind Waker port whenever the Wind Waker decomp was done. So it might also be used for that. At the moment, Dusklight updates have to be installed as like a separate folder in your downloads folder, which is kind of for me personally, because I'm not very organized. I keep everything in my downloads folder like an idiot. Whereas the launcher for Courage Reborn might be used to update it internally. I don't know about that yet, though. I'm kind of speaking out of my ass here, but, I'm praying that that's how it works. It would be really cool not to have several different folders for the same game. Ooh, but Rikai, just organize your stuff. No, I'm unorganized and I'm lazy. Dusklight also has its own, Bloom preset, which is really good. I don't know if Courage Reborn has that or if they're planning on doing that. But past that, both of them have very similar, quality of life things, like gyro, quick transform, things like that. I know Courage Reborn is working on more of those. Goat skip is one of them. I don't know why you wouldn't want to skip goats, because it's literally the best part of the game. Go do goats. It's very fun. CR also has significantly faster load times. It could be due to skipping some of the actual transition, but they also do have an option to fully remove transitions and have 1 frame load speeds, which might be slower on some lower end hardware, but that's insanely fast. But look, every single difference that I have named here today pales in comparison to this massive difference between the two ports. All right? I mean, this is completely changing the way that you experience this port from the ground up. Courage Reborn has my goat, Pukas01. We love this man. Godspeed, Pukas. Yeah, that's really it for the differences between the two ports that I have for you guys today. I am also going to kind of comment on some things from some comments that I got on my previous video, namely just 3 of them. Firstly, did both teams know about each other? Did they know about what the other team was doing? Both teams knew of one another and are both chill with one another. It's an all-around great time working with both teams on these videos. Does Courage Reborn have anti-aliasing? That would be the difference maker for me, with Dusk missing any of those options. Vara actually came into the comments to answer that. It uses super sampling. Both of them probably use super sampling, but I don't know if Dusklight does. And then lastly, is there a goal to add Wii U exclusive content and features? Content, probably via mods like the Cave of Shadows and whatnot. Features, yes, absolutely. Quick Transform is already in, and there's a ton of quality of life from the HD remake and just more. So that's kind of all that I've got for you guys today. I'll say it again, because, I've said it a million times now, what's one more? Both ports are amazing. Support both teams. Go play both. And again, seriously, I implore you, go learn, because all of this is open source, and both teams are incredibly willing to answer questions about both of their projects. Go dig around their code and learn for yourself. Ask questions when you have questions. The devs are phenomenal. They are all really, really great people and really, really great teachers. go learn from them. It's some super cool stuff. But yeah, that's it. Thank you again for your time, and I will see you whenever I see you, I guess. Bye.